one way to reveal your true self. See the present moment as the only moment. That's the practice. The practice is just seeing the present as the only moment. So, what do I mean by this? Usually, in your experience, you're going about your day, going about your life, and there's just constant thoughts that are coming up. It could be a thought about something that happened in the past, or it could be a thought about something that you are fantasizing about in the future. It's always those type of thoughts. And then it's probably some thoughts about possibilities, not necessarily something that's going to happen in the future or something that happened in the past, but just possibilities, like you're just dreaming, you're daydreaming with no intention. The majority of your thoughts that are happening in your mind throughout the day are exactly those type of thoughts. If we're saying that there is only the present moment, then you have to ask yourself, what do these thoughts mean? In other words, if you're thinking about the past, why are you thinking about the past? Are you thinking about the past because you believe in the past? So you're only thinking about the past because you're believing in the past. That's like a default mechanism behind that thought, is that first you need to believe in a past for you to have a thought about the past. Because if you stop believing in a past, you'll stop having thoughts about the past. I'm going to tell you how reality works right now, so it'll give you better understanding of what the present moment really means and why it's the only real moment. See, everything that you're seeing right now, you find yourself being this body walking from point A to point B inside this world. But there is really no concrete entity that's walking from point A to point B in this world because one, there isn't a world, and two, there isn't a concrete entity called the body. Now, of course, if someone hears this, their immediate reaction is like, what do you mean? I'm a human body, and there's many different human beings out there. What can you possibly mean by this? I'm saying that whatever you believe in is only something you believe in because you're being tricked into believing it. And what I mean by that is what's really happening is that there are an innumerable amount of distinct images that are vibrating so rapidly that it's convincing you of believing that you're a concrete form walking through linear time and space. It's happening so rapidly that your attention is completely immersed in the rapid movement that it's lost itself inside that movement and now believes that it's a concrete form inside a concrete world. When in truth, it's really just images that are vibrating so fast that it's giving you the illusion that you're this body inside a world, when in fact, it's really just images unfolding so fast. So you could look at it as a hologram, you could look at it as a simulation, you could look at it as however you want to look at it. But at the end of the day, it's really just images flashing so fast inside your awareness. And I say inside your awareness because the truth is there is just awareness. So if that's the case, then what exactly is time? What exactly is space? So you could see here that there really isn't any time and there really isn't any space. You only give those things meaning or make them as some concept to believe in when you're lost in the movement and not perceiving life as if there is time and as if there is space. You've been deceived. And in Vedanta, they call this ignorance. They refer to this as avidya. You can see through that illusion by constantly seeing the present as the only moment. Why can you see through that illusion if you constantly see the present as the only real moment? Well, again, the experience that you're holding as this human form, as this concrete form that appears to be inside a world, are really just flashing images, but thoughts that are happening in the now or in this present moment. You're entertaining thoughts about the past, you're entertaining thoughts about the future. Irrespective of whichever one you're having thoughts about, it's all occurring in the present moment. And if it's all occurring in the present moment, then perhaps there wasn't a past. Perhaps there isn't a future. You're only being deceived that there is a past and that there is a future. And that deception occurs in the present moment where the thoughts about them take place. So you see, it's like a trick that's happening in your awareness because there's just your awareness. So you're just being deceived by thoughts. You're just being deceived by thoughts. If you hold on to that present moment and you don't give in to those thoughts about the past, and you don't give in to those thoughts about the future, or you don't give in to daydreaming, if you don't give in to any of those things, you start to see that, whoa, there is only the present moment. And the reason I say that is because if you practice this long enough and consistently enough, you won't see yourself as this person that's moving inside a world. You'll start to see that's really just a projection of a person moving inside a world, because the truth of the person who's going inside this world are really just fleeting images. If they're fleeting images, it's more of a movie than an actual life. Because life is a movie. Look at the TV screen when you're watching a movie. When you're looking at the TV screen watching a movie, you're not the person inside the TV screen moving through a world. You're just watching it. But when you find yourself as this person moving through the world, you now find yourself in the movie that's being played on the TV screen. Hold on to that present moment and you'll start to see that what's really happening is a series of unfolding moments or unfolding images that are just happening so rapidly that it's giving you the illusion that there is a person inside a world. You're able to see that it's just an appearance of movement, just like the TV movie, the movie that's being played on TV is an appearance of movement because nothing is actually moving. The TV doesn't move. It's just the appearance of movement, meaning you're just watching an animated movie that's occurring in something completely stationary, just like the movie plays on the stationary TV. So you literally see it as like a hologram. You literally see it as a simulation that's unfolding in your awareness. So if you're not entertaining thoughts about the past and thoughts about the future, and you're staying in that present moment, and you're seeing that the present is the only real moment, then you're not taking your attention and immersing it inside the movement where you believe there is actual movement. You're taking a step back and seeing movement occur in your awareness. Because in truth, you're not in the movie is in you. You have to constantly see the present as the only real moment. Don't take your attention and drift it into this notion that there is actual time and that there is a past and that there is a future. If you give in to those notions, you're just remaining deceived. You're just remaining deceived. So, how can you experience the non dual self if you remain deceived? You have to break that conditioning and see that it's really just a series of unfolding moments playing out in awareness. Because when you're exposing the non dual self or non dual consciousness, you're literally seeing the projection of a movie play in your awareness. I say movie because it's no longer something intimate. If it's intimate, the movie is called life. But the less intimate it is, the movie is just a movie. Because what you are is awareness. You're not the character in the movie. You're just awareness. And awareness is impersonal. If it's impersonal, you can't really say that that's life because there's just you, which is the very foundation of life. So it's really about just going about your day and just remaining in that present moment. And to remain in that present moment means that you're no longer entertaining thoughts about the past and the future, because I'm telling you right now that the past and future is not real. And if it's not real and you're taking my word for it, then you're not going to entertain thoughts about the past and the future. If you're not entertaining thoughts about the past or the future, then you're sticking on to the present moment. And so you could see that even if all these distinct moments continue to unfold in awareness, if you're holding on to the present moment, it's not like those distinct moments all collapse. No, the distinct moments are all just unfolding still, but you're not being deceived by the movement. You're staying still. This is what it means to have a still mind, because you're keeping your awareness firm on the present moment. You're not taking your attention and drifting it into imaginary places. Because at the end of the day, if you're entertaining thoughts about the past and thoughts about the future, your attention is just drifting into imaginary places. And I say imaginary places because those places are not actually outside your awareness. You're just believing that those places are outside of your awareness. If there is just awareness, it only means that only the present moment exists. And if the present moment is all that exists, then stay there, remain there. Don't go drifting into imaginary places. And the more you do this, the more thoughts subside, they dissolve. You start to have less and less thoughts. Because when you go completely thoughtless, that's when you expose the truth. There is no room for thoughts in awareness if you're resting as pure awareness. If you believe you have thoughts, it's not pure awareness. It's pure awareness under a deception. And there's a reason why we're saying pure awareness, because it's pure without anything. That means it's pure without thoughts. It's pure without deceptions. It's just pure awareness. Keep seeing every moment as the only real moment. In other words, whatever moment you perceive of right now is the only real moment. If I'm saying that there is just awareness, that means there's no moments that are occurring outside of your awareness. You see that? In other words, let's take this a little deeper. If you're wherever you are right now is whatever you are conscious of. So if you're in your room and you're sitting down and you're right now in this very moment aware of some books over there. You're aware of your laptop that's by your side. You're aware of the air. You're aware of the wall in front of you. You're aware of all these different things in that precise moment. That means that that is the only real moment right then. There is no moment outside of that moment. In other words, whatever you're no longer aware of, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You're only conscious of what you're conscious of. And whatever it is that you're conscious of is playing out in your consciousness. And that consciousness is all that exists. If you have to go back to that line, just replay it, because that, if you truly understand that last sentence I just said, then you will understand why the present is the only real moment. In other words, there's really nothing behind you, in front of you, below you, to the side of you. There's none of that, because in truth, it's just formless awareness. You could picture this projector that's sitting right behind your eyes, and it's just projecting through your eyes a world. Now, that projection, when it projects light from itself and you're seeing the projection of a world, is there anything outside of that projection? Whatever it's projecting, which is the light, which is your ability to see a world, is there anything outside of that light? Because that's exactly what's happening right now in your experience. You're just seeing a projection that's emanating from your awareness and whatever you're conscious of, which is to say, the entire experience that you're having right now that's playing out in your consciousness that you're holding right now is all that exists, and there's nothing outside of it. If there's nothing outside of it, then you believing that there's something outside of you is just you believing in a thought that's occurring in that very moment of consciousness. And that there is actually nothing outside of that consciousness. You're just thinking about it, and that thinking about it is just occurring in your consciousness, which is now. You have to constantly see life that way. If you're not seeing life that way, then you're just remaining deceived. You're just remaining deceived. And this deception that you keep entertaining subconsciously, it's not something that you necessarily need to tell yourself. Subconsciously, because even those who study Vedanta or study non-duality, they're still believing in it subconsciously, even though they intellectually believe that it's not actually real. This is why practice is necessary. You have to kill that subconscious notion, because so long as that subconscious notion is there, you'll still believe that you're this concrete form inside a world. So you literally have to practice this constantly. Just try to remain in the present moment. Stop thinking about the past. Stop thinking about the future, because immediately when you start thinking about the past and start thinking about the future, you're sort of affirming the existence of a past and a future. You stop thinking about that. You let it go. You no longer entertain this notion that there is a past and that there is a future, because most of the thoughts that you have about the past and the future is only because you believe it's real. The less you believe it's real, the less thoughts you'll have about it, because it's no longer entertaining. See, people are just entertaining it because they believe it's real. Stop entertaining it. This is why practice is necessary. Those who don't resonate with this message only means that they're just entertaining it, and they don't want to believe that it's something that shouldn't be entertained, because they don't believe that there is just consciousness, because that seems crazy. That's how reality is. Reality is radical. Everything about reality is radical, because it's just a deception. Instead of seeing it as a movie, you're seeing it as actual life. And because you see it as actual life, you're entertaining it as such. Break that conditioning and start seeing the present as the only moment. The more you see the present as the only moment and as the only real moment, because everything is just occurring in consciousness that's taking place right now, not then, or not back then, or not all the way then, not the past, not the future, but just right now is all that exists, because right now is where all those unfolding images are unfolding. Right? You can't look at reality as something that happens linearly, like it's going from point A to point B. You have to look at it as like stacked. All those distinct moments, they're just stacked in the present moment, which is just here. It's stacked. It's not going from here to here. It's just all here in one place. That's the now. So they're like in a superposition. They're all just happening simultaneously. That's what I mean by flashing images that's occurring in your completely stationary awareness. If that's the case, then let's talk about something that happened in the 1700s. So you see that statement right there, what I just said, something that happened in the 1700s. When you hear that statement, you have to start believing that that's not an actual real statement, because nothing happened in 1700s. Like 1700s was 300 years ago, right? If everything is just stacked in the present moment, then it just only means that whatever appeared to have happened in the 1700s is actually appearing right now. In other words, everything that ever happened in the past and everything that will ever happen in the future and everything that is happening right now are in fact all happening now. There's nothing that happened in the past. 1700s is really just a thought that you're having about right now. And right now is all that exists. You don't have a thought about the 1700s in the past. You don't have a thought about the future in the future. You have a thought about both right now. Right now is all that exists, because everything is stacked upon each other in the same place. In a place that you can't regard as an actual place, because there are no places. There are only places when you find yourself in this movie called life, when you find yourself as this concrete entity inside of a movie. So if that's the case, then ask yourself this question. Do you want to remain being deceived? Or do you want to actually see the truth of it? If you want to actually see the truth of it, then you have to constantly see the present as the only real moment. Stop taking your attention and putting it in imaginary places, because the more you put it in imaginary places, the more you're moving away, or apparently moving away, seemingly moving away from the present moment. In other words, you're entertaining about something that is not necessarily the present moment, even though it's taking place in the present moment. Because you're deceiving yourself, you're sustaining the existence of duality, because it's held subconsciously, even if you want to convince yourself that it's not happening that way. Practice is what kills that conditioning, till you actually see in your direct experience that there is just the present moment, because nothing is now being seen as being inside of something that's happening. Now it's being seen as something that is occurring in your awareness. And that awareness is what's real. And what's real is the present moment, because that's where awareness is. It's synonymous. Awareness and the present moment are both synonymous. Constantly see everything that you see in that present moment as the only real moment. Constantly see the present as the only real moment, because it is the only real moment. Don't entertain the past and don't entertain the future when you go about your day. Don't go to work and just start thinking about the past and thinking about the future, because the more you think about it, the more you'll believe it's real, subconsciously. When you're operating this way it's not necessarily going to mean that you're not focused on whatever it is that you're doing. How can you not be focused on whatever it is that you're doing? Because you're constantly in the present moment. So you're not dwelling in the past and not dwelling in the future. So you're going to operate more efficiently. Yeah. Why? Because you're less distracted. Distraction comes when you're thinking about something. If you start to see life as actually this movie that's happening in the present moment, then obviously it's going to remove a lot of suffering in your life, because you start to see that you're actually not the one who has life. You are life. Constantly see the present as the only real moment in everything that you could possibly do. This is the practice. This one single practice will reveal the true self. Because if your attention is no longer drifting from thought to thought, if your attention is no longer drifting between imaginary places, then obviously attention is going to remain stuck on its source. And when it remains stuck on its source, it has nowhere left to go. If it has nowhere left to go, you'll expose the non dual self. You'll expose the truth of reality and the truth of who it is that you truly are. So constantly see the present as the only real moment. Constantly see the present as the only real moment. And by doing this, you'll constantly keep your attention on the only real moment, which is the present. All right, I'm done.